Okay, thank you for agreeing to the suspension because we had fire alarm. So let's restart then, please. Do we have everyone on the call? Okay. Right. Well, he knows this, so perhaps I can just go through this and carry on. Summary of complaint as per the investigating officer's report is that the subject matter should not have attended the meeting of another body in the pre-election period, and also that the subject member, in an email sent to the complainant and two other councillors, had treated others, had not treated the others with respect. I think that's probably fair to say, and had brought the role of the councillor or the council into disrepute. It was considered in the initial assessment that the allegations in relation to the attendance at the meeting in the pre-election period is not a breach of the code. However, the email, according to the assessment, showed potential lack of respect, which could be an action which was disreputable, and the matter was therefore referred to the investigation. Right, Councillor Spencer, do you have a question or comment at this point? You had your hand up earlier.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I was just checking the evidence list that the panel have seen. Is that just this document here that's entitled Case Reference R544243, or have they seen the emails as well, separately?
I have forwarded the emails that you sent. Yes.
Sorry, the emails from the complainant that he forwarded you, the evidence.
They've been summarised in they've got an initial assessment document that Mr. Mansell has put out in full, so that it was pasted into the initial assessment paper. So in short, yes, they have seen. Yes.
So
we have seen, just to clarify or to give my opinion as chair, we've seen extracts of the emails in the initial assessment and in the reports from the investigating officer. Are there other emails that you're referring to? Because presumably you've seen these documents too. Are there other emails that are not in our pack that you think are relevant?
I'm not sure, Chair. That's why I was asking the question. There were 3 emails sent on the day in question. It doesn't really have any bearing on the sentence that I wrote ending in the smiley face. However, I was just checking that is, because I did write that sentence. I'm not disputing that and what have you.
I think we've not seen the emails prior to your reply. We've not seen the earlier emails, at least I haven't, which were sent by the clerk or anybody else to you prior to your email, as my understanding.
Sorry, Chair, my apologies. I misled you, sir. On that day, I sent 3 emails. Okay, the complainant and another councillor and the town clerk were included in the first 2, and then the third councillor that's mentioned in the response was included in the third one. I just wondered if you'd seen them, sir.
Chairman, the actual emails I haven't sent to you because they've been summarised. All the relevant information has been summarised in Mr. Mansell's report, but you can ask Simon Mansell to refer to those if you think that's pertinent.
Okay, well, I think we'll come to this in due course then. Let's leave that. We have not seen perhaps all of the emails in their original form, and we'll try and find out if they're relevant at a later point. So let's move on, if we can, and go to the summary of the investigating officer's findings, and we'll bring in Mr. Mansell here as the investigating officer. We have seen the report, Mr. Mansell. Thank you very much for joining. We're moving on, and I'll take your point after this. We are moving on to the investigating officer's findings. We've got it here in our paper. The investigation concluded there had been breach of the code when the facts were viewed objectively from a reasonable person. The subject matter failed to take account of how the comments in the email would be received by all the recipients, and failed to consider the impact that email would have had on the clerk, and an undermining of her position, and the subject matter has therefore broken paragraph 1.2 of the Town Council Code by failing to treat others with respect. That is a summary of the investigating officer's finding. So, Mr. Mansell, over to you if you want to add anything that's relevant, or if you want to comment on the question that's already been raised about the other emails, if that's something you'd like to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to start with the issue of the other emails. That there were further emails. Councillor Spencer is quite correct. I didn't include them in the investigation for the main reason that it was only the comments with the smiley faces that was considered that could be potentially be a breach of the code. It was already decided at the initial assessment that anything else was not a breach of the code or outside of the code. So therefore, I didn't want to muddy the waters in any way by putting anything else into the investigation report. With regards to the investigation itself, I think this is one of these situations that could happen to any of us, to be fair. And it's I accept that Councillor Spencer, was engaging with a member of staff that he knows very well, and that's one of the reasons I went to the clerk and asked for her views on it. And as I put into the report, the clerk felt if it had just been between her and Councillor Spencer, she may have taken a different view, but with it going externally, that was what was caused the problems. As you said, the report is taken as read, but I would like to clarify that at the investigation, I didn't find that Councillor Spencer was has brought either his office or his council into disrepute. I don't think, even though it was a breach of the code of 1.2, it went that far to be disreputable. I think a reasonable person would judge this is something that could happen to any person. And it's one of those things, you type something out, put something in an email and send it, and then afterwards you think, well, should I have really done that? I'm happy to take questions, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Mansell. That's very helpful. Thank you for answering the point about the other emails. I'll open it up to members to see if there are any questions of Mr. Mansell. Members.
Okay, so I have a question. Was it sent? I'm just, because I haven't got the reference of the address of the email. It was sent from the official councillor's email address, or was it a personal email?
I will just double check with you, if I may. I'll go back into my file and find the original emails. It said it was sent from Alan Spencer, but there's no clear indication of whether it came from a personal email address or otherwise, but that wouldn't affect whether it was a breach of the code. It was the fact that it was relating to council business anyway, so as it was determined in the initial investigation, the actions were part of the code of conduct. Councillor Spencer would be to say whether it came from him or his personal address or otherwise.
So,
sorry, I think this is sorry, Sam. I think we are asking questions of the investigating officer at the moment. So let's try and do it as per the procedure. I think that will be clearer. Any questions, Anna or Sam? To Mr. Mansell?
I think just a point of clarification, Mr. Mansell, and this is not directly involved with the emails. It's a part I've highlighted of your investigation report was ignoring the advice of the clerk and attending the event, where he may have been perceived as leveraging his mayoral profile. It doesn't come across as so how can I say it? Personally, I think that's quite an important point, especially during PERDA, and I'm wondering if that should be one of the pertinent points as well as this email.
I need to go back to my initial investigation because, as I said, I didn't include that in the investigation report. With regards to PERDA, there are separate rules covering the attendance of members and whether it would be a breach of PERDA or not. But PERDA is generally, or pre-election period as we're supposed to call it now, is generally the misuse of councillor resources, not the actions of the individual councillor themselves. And it's then up to bodies, and I would use the press as a prime example, as to whether they allow a individual member to be on the front pages, to carry articles, or any group or body, whether that member can attend. So the clerk could have advised Councillor Spencer personally that he should not attend, but there was nothing within the rules or the legislation that would prevent him, because it wasn't a misuse of council resources. You could perhaps argue otherwise with regards to his mayoral position, but I think that would be stretching a point because he was attending in his personal capacity.
Did he not comment that he was electioneering at some stage?
I have not had anything to that event, and I think it was raised in the initial complaint. There was an element of electioneering, yes, and whether it was or wasn't, I'm not in a position to judge.
Thank you.
Can I just clarify that? So you have no understanding whether, sorry, is it Mr. Councillor Spencer was standing for election or re-election at that point?
Like I said, it wouldn't be for this process to judge that. The PERDA rules and whether Councillor Spencer was stepping outside of any pre-election rules would have to be considered separately, and it's actually not part of the code. I can say that from having dealt with several hundred complaints in the pre-election period we had in the spring of this year. It's primarily on the advice of the clerk. Should he have ignored the advice of the clerk, I think his response to the clerk could have been better framed, and that's where the breach of the code arose.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't think I've got any questions myself, so thank you for your time, Mr. Mance. I appreciate all the work you put into this and your report, which seems clear and straightforwardly written, so appreciate that. So now I believe we will move on to the subject member, Mr. Spencer, Councillor Spencer, giving his view of the situation and us asking Councillor Spencer questions as appropriate. So over to you, Councillor Spencer.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Chair. So you asked Mr. Mansell there the emails. The first two emails were sent from a private email address, and I noticed this complaint here. Can you hear me? Yeah. So on this Monday, I put myself through a code of conduct course with DALC, knowing this was coming up. I subscribed a couple of months ago, and I learned something new on the code of conduct, that for a code of conduct to be happening, I have to be acting as a councillor, or in knowledge. So perhaps the legal representative can give the actual clarification, or in knowledge of something that only a councillor will know. You've stated here that, and he was a councillor acting in his official capacity at the time of the alleged conduct. Now, I'm going to say something now. I don't want this to stop the thing. I did write the sentence with the smiley face on the end, and in hindsight, I can see, yes, it was. I agree with everything that Mr. Mansell said. I shouldn't have done it. Absolutely fine. However, you've stated here, and he was a councillor acting in his official capacity at the time of the alleged conduct. How has this been determined, please? That's one question I'd like to ask. And the clarification, the email was sent on a personal email address that you could not identify me as a person. That's why I put, this is Alan Spencer.
Yeah, okay, thank you, Councillor Spencer. So Mr. Mansell, over to you. I mean, do you have an opinion on that, please, that you can advise us? How have you determined that he acted in these emails in a representing the council or councillor or the mayor?
The rules on this are long since established, and they've been around since 2006. The joys have been around when the law first changed in this area. The law stands that if a member is acting or gives the impression they are acting in their official capacity, then they will be bound by the code. And I think, as already been pointed out by one of the members of the panel, this was something that Councillor Spencer, an event Councillor Spencer was going to attend in his official capacity, and the clerk was therefore giving him advice, which Councillor Spencer then rebutted, and it would be highly unlikely that such advice would be given to him as a member of the public. So therefore it was concluded that he was acting in his official capacity.
Right. Yeah. Sam, what's your question here, or what's your
Okay,
point?
so we were focusing on the emails. So I need to understand. So the emails were sent from you using a personal email address.
Correct.
And it was sent to personal or councillor email addresses.
It was sent
I'm
to.
talking about the smiley face.
No,
one,
no, that's
right?
fine. It was sent to councillor email addresses, .gov.uk, and the town clerk's .gov.uk email address. So the ones they would use officially as councillors or town clerk. But my email address was a personal one that funnily enough, that I rarely use.
Okay, so you use your personal email address, but and you at the time, I don't know if you are a mayor now, but at the time you were a mayor, is that correct?
That is correct.
Right, as a mayor, but you use your personal address about council business or response to some comments that were made or advice to do with council business. Otherwise, you wouldn't be writing it. If it wasn't to do with council and business, you wouldn't be writing this email. Okay, and you sent this to specifically who, please?
I sent it to Councillor Austin.
On his email, on his official
on his
email.
official Ivebridge Town Council email address. Councillor Abbott on his official Town Council email address.
Yeah.
And countercopied was the town clerk, not on her town clerk email address, but her named email address at ivebridge.co.uk. Would you like me to read the email to you?
I don't need to at the moment, no, but I'm interested why you did use your personal email address, and you also included the clerk on her official address about a comment about the clerk.
Thank you. Okay, so the reason I use my personal email address is previously I had been advised that you shouldn't use town council resources for electioneering purposes. Okay, that or advice along those lines. So, and in the email, I put that I'm, electioneering purposes, or that was what I was thinking at the time. I wanted the clerk to know. Let me explain the background to the story. Obviously, Devon County Council elections were coming up. Okay, I was invited to attend the Stowford Mill Residents Association, not to speak. This does take to speak. I obviously didn't clarify to Mansell. I was there just as an independent observer, so in their minutes they could put down that somebody observed their minutes, because they are having issues that they want to raise with the, I'm going to say the builders, but it might be the contractors or whatever it is. So I was in there just as a capacity to observe. But that's what it was. And
as an individual or as a representative mayor?
I was invited at the time as the mayor, because it looks better on the minutes, the mayor of Ivebridge Town Council. This is at this point into probably 4 weeks prior to that. I can't remember the exact date. I can look it up for you if you want to know. Okay, and I was trying to find a solution for the Stowford Mill Residents Association that they could get an independent observer. I tried the deputy mayor, and he was unwell. I think, I can't remember the reason. There was a reason why. Did I try? I cannot recall trying anybody else. I did say that I would get someone there, and my creative thinking was, and I'd like to challenge it to anyone, to get all of the candidates for the Devon County Council election there. This was my thoughts on the day. During the day, I happened to be at a meeting for the 13 parishes that were being taken, that were in line for Plymouth's expansion. And Rebecca, somebody from Dalk, was there at the meeting, and we were discussing. Kate introduced it to me and said, maybe seek a second opinion from her. And she gave me a second opinion, and I took this second opinion because it fitted what I thought was best for the residents of the Stowford Mill Residents Association. Throughout this, I wanted all of the candidates there. The reason I invite Councillor Abbott and Councillor Austin were the only two probable ones that were standing at that time that I knew of, because I'd seen electioneering and I knew those two were standing anyway. Midway through the day, I found out there were 7 candidates. Was it 7 candidates? 2 of which were paper candidates out of the area, and I knew it couldn't be done because I couldn't contact them because they wouldn't be getting there, so that wouldn't be fair. I spoke to Rebecca, and she gave me a written excuse, which hopefully has been in your email packs, as to why I could go there. And her advice was basically, as long as I don't wear the chains, as long as I don't get involved in any photographs, then that is okay. I've been cleared of that one anyway. I would have liked the committee to have seen that before it went to the thing, but that's not here nor there. That last email was done from my town councillor email address. And I wanted you to be aware of this to demonstrate that I was making every possible effort to not be council business on the first 2 emails.
Okay, we understand that.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask, sorry, were you standing in any capacity in the future election at that time?
I was standing in the Ivybridge division for the Devon County Council election.
Thank you. There's a comment here. Councillor Spencer referred to attending the event as mayor and later as a candidate, creating a deliberate ambiguity. I can't even say it, ambiguity. Thank you. Around the capacity in which he was present. Why do you think the gentleman said that you were creating a deliberate ambiguity?
That's a very interesting question, which I'm afraid I cannot answer. You would have to speak to the gentleman in question to answer that. What I will say is there were 3 emails, and that's why I would have liked you to have seen all 3 emails to make your own opinion rather than a summary.
Oh, okay, I mean, I think that some of this is moving off the point in a way. What we're trying to get to is what was the impact of the email that we have seen. Well, we appreciate the background, and that is quite useful. But let's try and concentrate in our questions and our answers on the email in question that has potentially caused the breach. So, if I may ask, I mean, what I'm keen to understand is what you're feeling about this email is, in hindsight now, was it, do you accept that there was a potential perception that this was a joke or not a joke, that it could have been a bit demeaning, it could have been a bit insulting? What's your feeling about it now?
Now, in this complaints procedure, then I can see exactly what is referred to. It was ill-advised, I think. I can't remember what the word was, and I think the town clerk put irk or something like that in the report. Yes, and she's absolutely right. On a one-to-one situation, I feel it would be seen as a joke. At the time I was writing, which was a very hurried email, there was about, I say, 3 on that day on similar subjects. It was hurried, and in hindsight, cold light of day, etc., I can see how not everybody will perceive it as a joke, which is exactly what it was intended to. It's my sort of style, maybe.
Okay, but so you accept that the response by the clerk, that she was concerned and felt somehow mistreated or disrespected, is a reasonable feeling, having read that some people would respond in that way. That's that you accept that sort of feeling from her.
I'd have to recheck the investigation. I thought she said it was disrespect to the role and not disrespect to her.
Well, disrespect to the role then. That's
Yes. So I think that's what she put. And it wasn't my intention. Okay, but I can see in the cold light of day, it wasn't giving the respect to the role that perhaps I should. But yes, to her, individual, a joke, but looking at the role, yes, it was ill-advised.
so you can see why there's some argument, since you've done subsequently some training, you can see the argument why this may have breached clause 1.2 of Ivy Bridge Town Council's Code of Conduct. You accept that?
Yes, Chair, I do.
Okay, and given that you accept that you've likely to have breached the Code of Conduct, or that certainly there's a case for that, what sanctions do you think you feel might be relevant in this case?
I'm afraid I haven't really put much thought to it. Obviously, as I mentioned, I went to a Code of Conduct training on Monday, I think it was. As soon as this came through and I had the opportunity for training, I thought, well, this makes sense. I suppose really it would be sensible for me to formally apologise to the town clerk and maybe to Councillor Austin as well, because obviously that perhaps, if I'm reading the complaint, upset him as well.
Okay, I mean, I think that's a fair answer. Let me just summarise. You accept the email was ill-advised. You accept that it was caused some disrespect to the role. You accept that there should be that there's likely to have been a breach to clause 1.2. You've taken some action subsequently to attend training, and you would think that a formal apology might be prudent.
I think that's a yes, Chair.
I've got no further questions. Any further questions, members?
Not at this time.
Okay. All right. Do you have any further statements at all, Councillor Spencer, that you wish us to be aware of or understand, or?
Not in relation to that sentence, Chair. That's I think I've said all I need to say on that.
Okay. Right. Thank you very much, Councillor Spencer. So just need some advice now on the process, because what I'm reading here is the subcommittee will retire. But prior to that, we need to hear from the independent person. Oh, yes, sorry. It's just a bit confusing here. The independent person, yes, so perhaps I can
Yes, Chair, thank you. I think that Councillor Spencer has summed up the action overall completely, and he's taken the training, which he accepts has been helpful, and I've got no more to say.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Mr. Barleycott. Thanks for coming to advise us and help us on that. Appreciate that. You've had a chance to look through all this and taken time to do so, so we appreciate that. Right, okay, so now we've got views of the independent person was consulted. Okay, so I'm presumably read this out. The independent person was consulted for his views, and he will confirm these to the subcommittee. We've heard that. We've covered that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yes, so
Okay.
just in short, that Mr. Barnicott did agree with Mr. Mansell's conclusions in the investigation.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for confirming.
Together with his added comments.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so I don't think there's any other questions from members, are there? I don't know that there's any other comments needed from either Mr. Can I say something? Yeah, yes, sorry, if you have a comment, Sam, please.
I don't know whether this sounds fair, but I'm hearing that the clerk was acting in good faith in terms of advice towards you and what you might or might do during pre-election period. And listening to the explanation you have and being involved in electioning, it is quite a confusing time, and I know there are also a lot of councillors and candidates who work very hard to try and not step over any rules that might cause conflicts. Okay, so I think there's sort of a wisdom. So can I hear that you do see that the clerk was trying in good faith, perhaps to give you advice in order to keep that period as simple as possible, so you would not be stepping on any election rules, although it is confusing, and I get that.
Absolutely. The town clerk's advice was sound. I said I asked it twice, and in there, she actually gave me the opportunity of seeking a second opinion from somebody else that gave me different advice. So both of her advices were good. I wouldn't have fallen foul if I'd followed her advice, but I wouldn't have done the best for the Stowford Mill Residents Association. And after all, we're elected as councillors for our residents.
However, I wonder if you would accept that that sometimes there's very sensitive periods of time where sometimes, although we want to represent our residents, we have to step back a bit occasionally in order to make sure that we're not, going possibly conflicting any electoral periods. And that the clerk gave you a really some sound advice, which we understand that you went against. But then the comments that you wrote, partly as mayor too, on your private email, perhaps was not the most professional to respond, which I'm understanding that you accept.
The sentence ending in the smiley, yes, absolutely, yes.
Okay.
I think, thanks very much, Sam, but I think we have to also be careful that we don't stray into...
We're not straying, that's not straying.
Right, okay. We are in a hearing at the minute, but it's a public hearing, so if you need to come in and settle in, that's fine. Let's check there's no other comments by a legal officer or anybody else, and then we'll retire to consider our decision. So,
No,
Catherine.
Chairman, it just the councillor needs to feel that he said what he needs to say. But other than that, if you've got no further questions and you are satisfied you've given enough information to the subcommittee, just checking that that's the case.
I'm satisfied I've given enough information to the subcommittee regarding the sentence ending in the smiley face.
Thank you. So yes, you may retire, or it may be easier because otherwise people will pile in here, won't they? If we could respectfully ask Councillor Spencer just to step outside while you have your deliberations, other than everybody else moving out. Would that be okay if I could ask you to step out and we'll come and get you when they've finished deliberating?
Yes, of course.
Thank you very much. That's very understanding. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Catherine. Thanks, Councillor Spencer. And so we're going to stop the broadcast, I think. Is that good? Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Thanks, Mr. Mann. Oh, thanks very much.